Hello, in this video we will look at the digestive system. So here we will discuss about the overview of the digestive system. So here is the person which that contain a different part of digestive system. So the digestive system is also known as the gastrointestinal tract, which that is basically is the part of skin which that is inside invaginate due to the evolutionary process. So here you can see in this diagram to understand as well. So in our digestive system basically is the contain a salivary glands, which that is the initially part of the digestive system, and the salivary glands produce a saliva we will discuss also. And on the other hand, the oral cavity, which that is used for the mastication and grinding of the food to become a bolus, and this bolus is lubricated will follow the esophagus. So here is the esophagus, and here is the liver as well as gallbladder and stomach. Here, and black color is showing in the figure is the pancreas, while the large intestine and small intestine. Small intestine is further divided into the duodenum, ileum, and jejunum, while the large intestine is the descending, ascending, transverse, and descending, and sigmoid colon. This is also large intestine is known as the colon. And the end of the large intestine is the cecum and rectum as well as anus. And beginning of the large intestine is the beginning of the large intestine contains cecum, not end. So the appendix is also present, which that is defend against the pathogen. So here important thing is that during the the primary digestion due to the salivary gland, here is the submaxillary gland are present on the maxilla, and this is the mixed serous mucus secretion contain, and sublingual gland is 3 to 5% the salivary volume produces saliva, and that is mucus. And for example, here is the carbohydrate when we will eat. It is in the form of starch or amylopectin, amylose or amylopectin. So important thing is that the amylase enzyme is used for the digestion. And the here is the parotid gland, which that is located on the parotid, which that is serous watery secretion and contains serous acinar produces a alpha amylase, which that is digest the alpha carbon bond with the sugar. So that important thing is that the tongue is used for the taste buds and used for the taste, for food selects, and muscle for chewing and swallowing. So important thing is that the gravity is assist to down movement as well as the peristaltic movement due to the circular and longitudinal muscle of the esophagus, which that is produce the wave-like motion, wave-like movement of the bolus due to the circular muscle and longitudinal muscle contract and relax antagonistically. So here important thing is that pre-digested food lubricated with saliva from salivary gland is known as bolus. And bolus is basically is not digested, but it is lubricated and the semi-digestion of the amylopectin. So the semi-digestion, but it we can say that is a pre-digested food, and go into the cardiac sphincter open to move into the stomach, and if the protein containing food will digest into the stomach partially. And we will discuss here is the stomach wall, which that is contain a gastric pit. Gastric pit secrete a different hormone, different enzyme. For example, uh, chief cell produce pepsinogen and parietal cell produce hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid will activate the pepsinogen into the pepsin, and this pepsin is the protein digestive enzyme which digests the partially into the stomach to become a chyme, and this chyme is the partially digested food will move into the duodenum after the pyloric sphincter open. So when again the pyloric sphincter open and the partially digestive food will be move into the duodenum just, and other food will remain into the stomach for further digestion. So here in this way, here is you can see the duodenum and here is the chyme. Chyme is the partially digestive food which that is laden with the enzyme as well as the acid for further digestion. But important thing is that here is the pancreas which that is produce different hormones and different type of hormone as well as exocrinally and endocrinally we will discuss here. So here is the liver. Liver contain a gallbladder. This gallbladder is basically the breakdown of red blood cell and bilirubin storage as well as the cholesterol. So this is opening with the pancreatic duct as the exocrinally, and both are open in the same duct, and this gallbladder is stimulated by the CCK due to the fat sensation. After the sensation of fat will stimulate and constrict the gallbladder wall and to move the bile pigment and bile salt which that open into the duodenum for digestion of fat. We will discuss also. So here is the pancreas. Pancreas is contain exocrine secretion and endocrine secretion. For example, endocrine is the glucagon and insulin. But here we will discuss about the exocrine secretion. Exocrine secretion of the pancreas can be chymotrypsinogen, which that is activated by the trypsin to produce the chymotrypsin, and the trypsinogen, which that is activated by the enteropeptidase to the trypsin, and amylase and lipase also produced for the fat and carbohydrate digestion. And on the other hand, the procarboxypeptidase is activated by the trypsin to carboxypeptidase. These carboxypeptidase will be catalyzed from the carbon terminus of the amino acid polypeptide. While here is the exopeptidase and here is the endopeptidase. Endo mean between the chain will be digest, while the exopeptidase mean the exit side. For example, the carbon terminus or nitrogen terminus will be digested from one by one amino acid. So on the other hand, here you can see that is the duodenal wall, which that is contain a villi, and this villi contain a enterocytes, and this villi is circulated by the lymphatic circulation as well as the blood circulatory system, which that is absorb the nutrients from the villi, and in this way the villi contain a microvilli. Microvilli is also a part of the cell is known as the enterocyte, and this enterocyte is basically is also known as brush border cell because it contains a brush border enzyme. For example, the sucrase, maltase, as well as for digestion of the disaccharide, while the dipeptidase and tripeptidase is also for digestion of the dipeptides and tripeptides. So in this way, here is you can see that is the absorption of amino acids, sugar, water, calcium, potassium, sodium, magnesium, iron, and fats from the duodenum wall. So that is the enterocytes contain a receptor as well as channel, which that is allowed to move into the. So important thing is that the lymphatic vessel is absorb fat while the first, and while the other part of the food will digest and absorb into the blood vessel. So here is the bile acid, which basically is our bile salt, which that is used for the emulsification of fat. Emulsification means the amphiphilic creation of the oil droplet. It means the salt will be bind here, and it means the hydrophilic and hydrophobic interaction, and the lipophilic and lipophobic interaction will be occur, which that is create the micelles and absorb into the bloodstream. So let's here draw, we will discuss about the large intestine. This large intestine contain a different part. So let's begin to understand. Here is the ascending column, which that is after the jejunum will be opened by the jejunum, ileum, which that is bound with the ileocecal valve. So this ascending colon, and here is the appendix. Ascending colon will go into the right colic flexure. This right colic flexure is here, and the here is the cecum, and right colic flexure will extend into the transverse colon, and the left colic flexure, which that is moved down to the descending colon, and this descending colon to the sigmoid colon and the rectum and anus for the excretion. So important thing is that the function of the large intestine is absorb water, salt, mineral and waste food metabolism. So in this way the mucous membrane is thick as compared to the small intestine because it's contain a microbiome. It means the bacteria. Bacteria are present, which that is the mutualistic symbiosis, and this mutualistic symbiosis is the bacterial colony produce the large intestinal microbiota, which mutualistic symbiosis and fermentation of starch and lactose into the short chain fatty acid as well as the sugar, and the lactose breakdown due to the lack of iron are present in the bacteria, which that is E. coli, and that is the digestion of the milk complete into the large intestine. And here is you can see that is the glucose and butyrate and acetate, which that is the short chain fatty acid, will be digest due to the bacteria, and that resistant starch basically convert into the this stuff. So in this way the mucus is barrier, which that is not allow barrier immunity character, which that is not allow to bacteria invasion. Whenever the damage of the mucous membrane will allow to move inside for infection, so the short chain fatty acid will be move inside. So let's begin to understand the bacterial colony, which that is our health benefit. So that is basically is the modulation of central nervous system, increase and short chain fatty acid and prefer the brain and ATP production. Why? Because the glucose, which that is converted into the pyruvate and inside of the cell, so that is the efficient way to increase the glucose level in our blood. So the fat storage basically is the fat storage due to the microbiota, because the butyrate and acetate is the short chain fatty acid, which that is deposit into the adipose tissue. On the other hand, one more thing is that intestinal um, repair mechanism. In this way the angiogenesis will be occur in the intestine due to the blood vessel increase and blood vessel repair mechanism. And on the other hand, the immune cell is the protection and development, and the vitamin is use vitamin K and vitamin B12, which that is also produced from the microbiota. Bacteria will produce the vitamin, and in this case the water absorption and mineral absorption are done with the large intestine, but the small intestine is also the bit of water will be absorbed from the duodenum to ileum and jejunum. So in this way the mechanism of the digestive system we was discussing about that. I hope you make sense this overview. Next video we will discuss